I'm Jack Death. I'm a trooper in the 23rd century.
Jack Death, Angel City PD. May I see your stats?
What did I do?
Under Section 7 of the Penal Code, the Council authorized me to administer you a trancer suspect examination.
You can't give me a TSE without a warrant.
I got your warrant right here, pal.
Okay. I don't want any trouble.
Hold out your...
My job is hunting trancers.
I got nothing to hide.
Finding them
Negative.
and singeing them.
Look out!
Of course, sometimes they find me first. Then it's a little more complicated.
How do you know Whistler's location?
We monitored a line disruption in Los Angeles, December 1985. Van Zandt, Ash, and I all had ancestors in the city then.
If you think I'm bringing that scum up the line, you got the wrong trooper.
Unless you stop Whistler, everything the council has accomplished for the last 40 years will count for nothing.
Okay, let's say I believe this. You're a cop from the future and you're chasing this guy Piper.
Whistler.
Why doesn't he just turn you into one of these zombies? Or me?
Trancing only works on squids, people with weak minds, easily controlled. Lena, I'm from another time, another world. I don't even know what you people eat for lunch.
Okay, I got fried rice, egg rolls, and beef chow mein.
Beef? You like from a cow?
I thought it was rough in the 23rd century. I didn't know how hot it could get.
Jack?
How's my tan? It was getting hotter all the time.
Jack?
I guess I just attract a certain element no matter what century I'm in.
This way, mister!
Anyway, I gotta run now.
I want to ride with the lady.
Over here, Ashby!
Jesus! Sure enough, glad I kept my cop coat!
Jack Death is back. And he's never even been here before. Trancers.
Welcome to They Called Us a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Called Us a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Called Us a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio, and with me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Myers. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, friends.
Hello, everyone. I know this is probably not going to fall on, as they say, deaf ears with you two, but I think the one thing I've been thinking about after this weather that the Northeast has had recently is that I'm kind of upset that I haven't had the chance to have one snowstorm so that I can say, you know, hey, I didn't have to shovel that this year for the first time in 35 years, or 30, we'll say 37 something years. I wasn't shoveling snow when I was, but yeah, I know you guys have homes and stuff and have to shovel the snow, but I think what I'm trying to say is I think I'm the reason it hasn't snowed up here, because I think God's just punishing me for thinking that way.
Well, first off, that's what wives are for, Mark. All right? They're the ones.
I don't have one of those either, Dan.
and second of all, I don't think God had anything to do with it. If we're being honest here, if anything, he's punishing us for just in general, I guess. Yeah. But it's not like, oh, Mark's got his own place. Fuck him.
He's in an apartment building where he doesn't do any of the labor of snow shoveling. Fuck the Philly area, no snow.
Yeah, if anything, I'm thanking you.
Yeah, I'm just narcissistic thinking here that it's all about me.
Are you the main character, Mark?
I'm the main character.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Mark. Yeah. Well, I hope it keeps up. because I have a long ass fucking driveway. So
I made a joke to my going back to your point, Dan. My oldest niece was happy it didn't snow because she's now in charge of the driveway shoveling.
Mm-hmm.
And the youngest niece was getting all upset, going, "I want snow to play in." And it was like fun to see that dynamic of the first time where one child is becoming you need to do all the manual labor in the house, and the other one can still act like a kid. It was pretty funny on Saturday when we had that like coating of snow in the city.
I think since I've moved into this house, we've had one legitimate snowstorm where I've had to shovel. And I think I got out there for like an hour and a half or so, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to leave the rest. And that's what I did.
That's funny. I was just thinking that as you were. I was like, of the people in this conversation, me and you would probably the least need to shovel. I don't have to do it, and you work from home. So.
Where am I going?
I'm absolutely terrified that someone's gonna walk by, slip and fall, and break their back.
Oh, I don't have a sidewalk either.
Oh, jeez, rub it in, why don't you? A long driveway and no sidewalk. La-dee-da.
Yeah, we'll remember this conversation when it's August and I've got an hour and a half in front of me when I mow the lawn.
Trade-off. That is the trade-off. When you tell those stories, like, oh, I had to mow the lawn or I had to rake the leaves, my heart breaks for you. Like, that poor man. That sounds awful.
As you watch Jen mow the lawn from the privacy of your sunroom.
Yeah, I get to hang out in the back with a lemonade. Oh, geez, I feel so bad for Aunt.
Yeah.
You missed the spot there, Jen.
It's like, you really should do the diagonal lines. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, she cuts it in a weird way. She does like across and then some places up and down. It's like it's a weird.
She does vacuum style.
Yeah, it's a weird pattern.
Yeah.
But and then this is in all seriousness, I do not make her do that. She actively wants to mow the lawn for some reason.
Yeah.
Maybe she's a secret masochist and I just haven't caught on yet, but
I can't wait for her first mow this April when she's mowing for two.
You gotta get those steps in.
I got the baby, honey.
All right.
I know it's been a week since we had the kid, but the lawn's getting pretty big out there.
Yeah, it really grew after that rain. All right. So, this is week 2 of 2024.
Yep.
And we watch another movie, as we do on this podcast. That's what this podcast is about, watching movies. And this week was Mark's pick.
Yes.
So, Mark, why don't you tell us which movie you picked?
Yeah, so this is one of those cases where I originally had one movie picked, and then we couldn't decide if that movie was too good for this podcast. So I went searching on the greatest resource for this podcast, and that is Tubi, where we're not sure if they have licenses to show these movies, but they are sure on there. So this week I went first. I picked the movie we watched 200 episodes ago, which was pretty funny. I messaged Dan. I was like, "Did we see this?" He was like, "Yep, episode 50." I was like, "I knew it looked familiar." And so I found another one, which is old friend of the podcast, Tim Thomerson, in the 1984 movie Trancers, starring a young 21-year-old Helen Hunt.
Now to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Your original pick was Lady Hawk.
Lady Hawk, yes.
And I questioned it, not because I thought it might be too good.
Yeah.
The thing I know of Lady Hawk, but I know of the poster, and that's it. So that got me kind of worried I don't know Lady Hawk of it being particularly bad. I don't know of Lady Hawk being particularly good. So I felt like it was really going to be in that 2.5 stars or 3 stars. It worried me that I had no idea what Lady Hawk was about or anything about it other than it starred Rutger Hauer and Michelle Pfeiffer. That's the reason why I called into question. I was like,
yeah.
Do you research? If it's good, if it seems like it's going to work, then we'll watch it.
Yeah.
But
and I'll say good is relative on this podcast.
Sure. Yes.
What I meant is necessarily it's not good enough like a RoboCop that there's a lot of funny moments, but it's a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not very, very awful like Karate Christmas Miracle.
Sure. That is the spectrum we run.
Yeah. There's that middle ground that's way too boring. It's okay, but it's not easy to make fun of. So and that's what I meant by too good for the podcast.
The prevailing thing I saw on Letterboxd when I was doing my research when we were discussing it was that it had pacing issues,
which is not good for. Yeah,
which is not something we can really pick apart.
No. But yeah, so Trancers, basically, just I before watching the trailer, I just chose it because of the 2 stars, and then saw that it was one of those weird futuristic sci-fi 80s movies that gets a lot of things wrong, and then sends a character like a fish out of water into the present. It is very much seeming like people were sharing the same nugget of an idea as Terminator. Essentially, I don't know how far from Terminator 1 this movie came out, where it could have maybe been in the same script circle. Of idea of man from future comes back to save people from the past dying and their relatives dying in the future. But yeah, very much that idea. And then I just love the setting of just showing you everything about what that era of Los Angeles was to those of us that only watched it through movies. You had the punks in the club, and Chinatown, and all the hallmarks of like when people think of 70s New York and how we've only seen that through the lens of movies. This very much felt like that level for LA in the 80s. It was very interesting. It was fun, just like in Masters of the Universe, seeing Courtney Cox and seeing a young Helen Hunt in this, and then you kind of go, oh, okay, I see why she was able to hang on long enough to finally get that sitcom so that she doesn't have to work again. But yeah. So this was Trancers and not Tracers, as I accidentally probably said in our group chat and sent Dan into a panic searching for the movie. But yeah, I had a good enough time watching it. But I'm curious to see what you guys thought.
Okay. Well, Dan, where are you coming from with Trancers?
Yeah, so this is a movie that was not on my radar at all. And like Mark alluded to, I was looking for Tracers at first, but I just kind of I was looking, I couldn't find it. And I was just sitting on my couch, kind of like a lost child, hoping that one of you guys would steer me in the right direction. So I'm like, I don't know what movie we're watching now. But yeah, this movie is interesting because it has the hallmarks of a movie that would kind of it was setting itself up to fail, and I thought it was going to be kind of boring, but I actually found myself kind of enjoying it. It has a very interesting plot and an interesting concept because this movie came out the same year as Terminator, Mark, 1984.
Okay.
I don't know who beat who to the box office. I don't even know if this has a box office, but yeah, obviously Terminator did it better. I'm going to go out on a limb.
A little bit of a limb.
Yep. I don't know, that's a hot take. But yeah, I thought the concept was really interesting. Having your consciousness go back to an ancestor to stop someone from killing their ancestors, or like the leadership.
Yeah.
It didn't have the budget to make that concept come to fruition necessarily. I think if you put this movie in the hands of someone like a Ridley Scott, maybe a David Cronenberg, you get a better movie. Not that this was terrible, but it didn't have the right person at the helm, I thought. Some things were a little rushed. I still don't know what a trancer is, to be honest. They say it a few times, but I don't know what makes a trancer, and I don't know the technology that sends people back, like their consciousness back. It kind of gets like thrust upon us pretty early.
Yeah, so it was this is what I forgot to mention in my opening. It also very much had Assassin's Creed, the video game vibes.
Okay.
You know, except they explain it a little better than the people do here. I don't know if it's the same thing, or maybe the people that made Assassin's Creed got the idea from this movie, which wouldn't surprise me. You know, we've seen a lot of like B sci-fi stuff get sucked into video games when those people come of age to be able to make video games. Basically what the Assassin's Creed people do is they use your blood, like blood memory, to be able to go back to an ancestor. Like you
magic.
sit in,
Got it.
yeah, sort of thing. You sit, you sit in a machine, and basically whatever program or sci-fi thing they run, you know, it's able to connect the DNA blood or whatever, DNA in your blood or whatever, to an ancestor at a certain point in time. So at least that's explained a lot better than it is in this movie, where it's just like, we know some people from history, and they have some real fun with the one guy going back and could only find one ancestor at that moment.
Yeah, there was some interesting ideas in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
I like the idea of that the main character, Jack Death, spelled D-E-T-H. Just put the A in there. I don't understand what the point of dropping the A is. Maybe it's on the nose.
Sci-fi.
Yeah.
Mhm. You know.
He has that watch that little like piece of shit watch.
By the way, when it first happened, idea popped in my head, and then Helen Hunt's character saying exactly what I thought made me laugh.
Why didn't he kill the bad guy? Yeah, it's a cool concept. I like that idea that the main character has a literal stopwatch that he can kind of, you know, pause time. He could go into bullet time essentially.
Yeah,
but it's not utilized well, in my opinion.
Yeah. By the way, I love the idea. I love the idea of it being called a long second rather than bullet time. That for me just sounds cooler.
Yeah,
the long second.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. They just didn't utilize it, in my opinion, correctly. The movie has a decent cast in it. A lot of good character actors are in this movie. I would say this surprised me. I enjoyed this movie for the most part.
Okay. Yeah. As for me, I'm the same. I don't really know Trancers from Adam, but I watched this and I had a really good time with it. It's a fun little sci-fi movie, light on the sci-fi. They have, with any time travel thing, there's plot holes abound. It's like, couldn't they just send back another handgun that had antidote in it? Because they had the ability to just send him shit in like a little care package whenever they pleased. It's fun. And also, like, why did McNulty have to go back into the girl when she obviously had parents who are also ancestors of him? He could have just went. He could have just went in and did that. So
I guess it's not as funny,
right? Yeah, it's played for a joke because he's like a 9-year-old girl. I get it. I get the reason movie wise why he's in there, but yeah, no, it's a good time. Tim Thomerson was good. I love the fact that he's playing an old man and he's like my age. I hate it.
Love it at the same
but
time.
I also kind of love it because he does look like he's like 55 when he's like 38.
Oh, he's in his late 30s in this movie?
Tim Thomerson, the actor, is in his late 30s, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he looks like a worn out catcher's mitt.
Yep. And Helen Hunt is barely 20.
Ooh, yeah, I had that in my notes. Like, this is a big problem.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad on the chisel scale as I thought it was. Because as you did, Ant, I looked up Tim Thomerson's age, and I was like, oh, that's not as bad of a gap as I thought it was. On screen. But yeah, I think she's like 20 when this is filming, because it was 21 when she came out. Because I was worried about the same thing.
Like 1963.
Yeah.
Was born.
Yeah. So, but it was, man, is it good that we don't look as bad as people that were 38? Like, or is it just that we haven't lived as much as they have?
I mean, I could assure you that I probably have not lived as much as Tim Thomerson has.
That's true.
Yeah, but I think also people smoked just like a ton back in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I also love that he's his own grandpa for all intents and purposes in this movie.
Yeah, the movie posits that his ancestor looked exactly like him.
Yeah, and it also posits that Lena, the woman he falls in love with, is the woman that his ancestor has a child with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the reason why Whistler throws her off the roof.
Yeah, I think he mentions that, right? Like, you'll never be born or something. He has a line. Yeah, I wanted. Speaking of Whistler, I don't know anything about him. What was his motivation for doing all this? He's just a bad guy.
Yeah, he's like some sort of cult leader, and that's what the Trancers are. So like the Trancers are like zombies, but they're like mind controlled.
And they can turn to Trancers and turn back whenever they want to, apparently? Or does Whistler activate them?
I feel like Whistler activates them. How he activates them, I don't know, because the dude at the tanning salon was just, I'm a Trancer now.
Yeah, exactly. Like he was cool. He was a normal person, and then boom, Trancer activated.
Same with Santa, which might be my favorite scene in a movie in a while.
That was great.
But yeah, that's the only thing I got is that he turns people into Trancers. That's about as much information as I got, because Tim Thomerson kept saying that you can't turn her. She's too strong-willed, because apparently maybe the Trancers were a euphemism for drug users in the 80s,
maybe
sort of thing. But yeah, it sounds like he definitely has something to do with it. And I think his whole thing is he wanted to kill those people so that he could have more power in the future, essentially. I think it's a very, very basic idea.
But so now the problem being, and I'm jumping ahead and I apologize, his corporeal body is incinerated. It's vaporized by Jack.
It's singed.
Singed, yes. That's the term. So, all right, so now he's in the past. Wouldn't it be impossible for him to gain power in the future?
They can go back.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't go back into the past with the assumption that that's going to happen to his body.
Yeah,
he's in the past, and Jack Death is just like, well, nuts to this, and just vaporizes him.
That's so great.
So
I don't know what happens if he goes back to the future.
I don't think he can now, right?
He can't.
He doesn't have.
Well, he sends him back.
Yeah, but his
says
body's dead.
He's going all the way through, no stops. I don't know what that means.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
But at the end of the film, he has one antidote to send one of them back, and he chooses to send back Whistler. What happens to Whistler with no corporeal body in 2430 or whatever it was? I have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem like Jack Death gave a shit about what the consequences were.
Yeah, Jack just defies orders so he can get some young Helen Hunt tail in this movie.
Yeah, and there is no one more upset than him about the fact that he misses out on experiencing.
Yeah.
Oh, you couldn't give me 5 more minutes?
And he's so upset when he comes back post-coital.
Yeah.
So is that a way to technically say he's not his own grandfather? Is that he wasn't there? Maybe that time they had sex was when he was conceived.
I don't think
he better hope.
Yeah.
He better hope that's when he was conceived. Otherwise, the next go around or whenever it is, he would most assuredly be present for the conception of one of his ancestors.
It's almost like a little bit of a time cop situation there.
Yeah.
Like one person is what if I'm remembering correctly, time cop, he goes to the past, right?
Yeah. But that's too corporeal.
Yeah, and it's not an ancestor.
Yeah, it doesn't go into the mind. Like he doesn't take over a body.
Okay.
No, that's
him. Where it's different. Yeah.
That's just standard time travel rules. He goes into the past as himself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, interesting concepts. I think they had some good ideas, just couldn't really elaborate on it that much. Maybe budget constraints or just lack of talent, maybe from the director, writers. Just but they did their best with it, I think, and pulled out a decent sci-fi movie.
Yeah, I think with a little more budget, it could have, gotten a little more. I don't even know if it's not, but maybe a little more cult status. If it was just like a little bit more budget, with some of the stuff, or a little less budget, maybe. If you get what I'm saying. But the only thing I learned from talking to got the two coworkers, the one that really likes movies and the one that used to work at a video store. And every so often we'll pick a movie and he goes, "Oh yeah, we used to rent that all the time on VHS." And Trancers apparently was one of them. So I don't know where the, cult-ish status fell off for this movie, that it's now on Tubi, possibly legally. But yeah, it just felt like it was in that weird middle ground, where maybe it was not enough budget to be a good sci-fi movie, but too much budget for it to be like a campy sci-fi movie from that era. But yeah, it wasn't a bad watch.
Right. Yeah, but they did make 6, so it had to have some sort of following.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't like, where did it drop off that all of a sudden, it's no longer,
I'd say it dropped off here, probably.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Like, again, yeah, we enjoyed this movie, but it's still not a very good movie.
Yeah.
So I think it had some appeal, but obviously not enough to, make the sequels any more successful or more well known. Because I'd never heard of Trancers. I don't know anyone that I've talked to who knows Trancers. And I'm not saying that I know people who are like, they know everything, but when we bring up movies, most of the time they're like, "Oh yeah, I know that," or "I've heard of that movie. I've seen that movie." This one, it wasn't on anyone's radar as far as I know.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the sequels right now. They look pretty good though. Not gonna lie.
Yeah,
the one with
Trancers 5, Sudden Death. Ooh, spelt DETH. Pretty good. Takes place in like some sort of medieval universe.
But let's make Trancers our New Year's movie every year. We watch a different Trancers.
Tim Thomerson on a horse with a handgun.
Well, I know we're watching Trancers 5 at some point now, just with that statement.
Well, all right, so Trancers 2 is called Trancers 2: The Return of Jack Death. Then Trancers 3 is Trancers 3: Death Lives.
Mm-hmm.
So he returns both times?
Oh, I mean, Jack Death is in all of them, so.
Yeah, but it makes the subtitle makes it seem as if he died and is back.
Well, no, they're there to confirm that he is in fact living. Death lives.
Yep,
that's great. Jack of Swords is Trancers 4.
Pretty good.
The subtitles are great. Marvel should take a note out of the Trancers book here, or page out of the Trancers book.
I love he gets lost somewhere in the future for Trancers 4, Jack of Swords.
Oh, but does he?
Yeah, pretty
good. So good. Yeah.
What was the title of Trancers 4?
Jack of Swords.
Oh, I thought that's what you said.
Yeah. I don't really know what it means.
Neither do I. But I want to make sure I heard that correctly.
Upon further review.
Well, on the box art or the poster art, he's holding a gun, and there's a person behind him.
Does that person have a sword?
Yeah, he's holding a sword.
Yeah. There's also someone in front of him also holding a sword.
Oh yeah, and someone on the ground. I can't confirm if that's Jack Death or not. Neither confirm nor deny that being Jack Death. Tracers 2, he has the galaxy on him. On the cover art, it's like his shirt is comprised of the galaxy.
Yeah, Helen Hunt's got a pair of mom jeans on her.
With a shotgun. And there's some other lady there. I don't know who that is. Well, it looks like a young Nev Campbell almost, but I don't think that's her.
Megan Ward,
okay.
Jeffrey Combs
and Barbara Crampton. Holy shit. Yeah, we definitely got to revisit Jack Death.
Yeah, Barbara Crampton. Good for her.
Yeah. Patron saint of this podcast.
Yeah. Love when Barbara Crampton pops up in a movie we watch.
And Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah.
Dynamic duo right there.
Mm-hmm. So, Trancers from 1994 is directed by Charles Band. Directed a ton of movies, including Tracers 1 and 2, Doll Man vs. Demonic Toys, Head of the Family, Pre-Hysteria, and the Evil Bong series. Stars Tim Thomerson, Helen Hunt, Michael Stefani, Art LaFleur, Telma Hopkins, Richard Hurd, and Biff Maynard. IMDb score is 6.0 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 88%.
Woo! Wow.
No budget or box office numbers that I could find. 88%.
That's great.
Yeah. Forgot to mention that Aunt Rachel from Family Matters is in this movie.
No way, really?
Yeah.
As the engineer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, get out of here. That's great. I didn't know that.
As soon as you said it, Aunt.
Aunt Rachel, Telma Hopkins. Yeah. You guys want to get into the plot?
Let's
Sure.
do it.
Dan, what do you got?
All right, real quick, just have two podcasts for you guys to check out. You know them, you love them. If you listen to this podcast, you know what I'm going to mention. First is the Top 10 with Tia. It's a weekly podcast hosted by a very good friend of the podcast, Tia, and her friend Brittany. They run down top 10 lists of that current week. So if you enjoy lists and people talking about random things that could be on that list, go to geekvibesnation.com, search Top 10 with Tia, and you can find it there. And last but not least, our very own Mark Myers has a podcast with two of our friends, Tom and Jen, called the Game Vault Podcast. It is a bi-weekly podcast you can find on pretty much any podcast platform of your choice, where they talk about video games they're playing, video game news, things that you should be on the lookout for. They also stream on Twitch at Game Vault Pod, and they also are on all socials at Game Vault Pod. So go give them a follow, go listen to the podcast, go follow them on Twitch. There's so much content for you there. If you're a big fan of video games, they've got you covered.
Okay, great. And we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Steve.
And this is Adam.
And we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast,
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us.
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder,
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
And welcome back. Now, time to get into the plot for Trancers. We open on a futuristic but also retro-looking diner as our hero, Jack Death, gets out of his futuristic but also retro car, talking about how finally tracked down and singed a guy named Martin Whistler, who's now in the process of tracking down his Trancers, which are Whistler's followers. The VO in this part is slightly better than Harrison Ford's VO in Blade Runner.
Just a little bit.
He goes into the diner and orders a coffee and real milk, which seems to be a commodity. He then hassles another customer for no good reason. Then the diner waitress tries to attack Jack with a meat cleaver, but he's saved by the patron that he was just hassling. Jack says that he's a trancer, that she's a trancer, which is some kind of zombie-ish person, as she wildly attacks him. Patron goes out and sets off a trancer alarm and then runs off.
By the way, I think that's, even though it's like early 80s, like special effects for it, the idea that there is a like bat signal-esque thing that people can just go touch when Trancers are around seems very cool to me.
Yeah. Nice little matte painting, too, from the background.
Yeah, there was a couple nice matte paintings in this movie.
Yeah.
But so now, one of the other questions I would have or pose to you guys is, what exactly is the danger of a tracer or trancer?
I mean, they are violent and attack people. Other than that, I don't know. I don't think they bite you and you turn into a trancer.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't think we ever get the magnitude of how dangerous they are.
Yeah. Well, we just see them go crazy. Yeah. We see them in action, though.
They're pretty, they're like stronger, I guess, or they have sweet karate moves.
Yeah, which kind of adds to my theory that it's an allegory for drugs.
Oh, like on
sort of thing.
Speed or something like that, or
Probably, yeah, whatever.
Possible.
Whatever was, I don't know if crack was a big thing at that time. Yet in the
Exposed.
80s.
I mean, it was the 80s, so.
Yeah. But the more we're thinking about it, more Ant starts describing, them. I'm thinking the allegory to drugs might be the original nugget for what a trancer was, and then they just forgot to explain it in the movie.
Yeah. In the Reagan 80s, crack was all over the place.
Yep.
Jack fights off the trancer, finally shooting her with his laser gun, then tries to leave the scene before the cops show up. She, meanwhile, evaporates into a burn in the floor and disappears. As Jack tries to leave, McNulty, Jack's supervisor, shows up to chew his ass out for not doing things by the book. McNulty tells him he's got to do the job he's supposed to, not chasing trancers around. So Jack takes off his badge and tosses it on the ground and drives away. McNulty tells another cop that trancers killed Jack's wife, and that's why he's on this crusade of his. McNulty, also played by Art LaFleur, who we know as Babe Ruth from The Sandlot.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Another great character actor.
Yep.
Yeah. And did you guys catch what the badge says when he throws it?
I couldn't read it, no.
It says Angel City. So is this like a sequel, prequel to the Power Rangers?
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting.
I mean, they say Angel City quite a few times in this movie.
Yeah,
but I get the question you're asking. It's not about. It's not that, but yeah.
So there was a giant earthquake that sinks Los Angeles or part of it.
Yes.
So I don't know why they need to change it. It's still Los Angeles, no?
I love the sign. We'll get to that in a little bit. The sign when we cut the Tim Thomerson after this scene, and it says Los Angeles as an LOST.
They're pretty clever.
The sign. I was like, that was a hit in the writer's room.
What about we put a T at the end? Oh, shit.
We then cut to Jack on the beach as we see the skyline of Los Angeles underwater. He's diving for scrap and comes across mostly trash, including a street sign from Sunset Boulevard. McNulty shows up with some guardsmen with a summons for Jack to appear in front of the council. Jack initially blows him off, but then McNulty shouts to him as he's about to go for another dive that Whistler is still alive. So Jack goes to see the High Council, and it turns out that one of the 3 councilmen was murdered by Whistler, and the remaining 2 says he plans to kill them both. They show Jack a hologram message Whistler sent to them, where Whistler says he's going to go back in time to kill the council people's ancestors so that they will cease to exist. When the council people says that he was there when the dead council person was killed, he says he vaporized along with his children and grandchildren. So the council people tell Jack that they are going to send him back to 1985 to bring Whistler back to stand trial. Mention that Whistler has gone back in time and taken over the body of an ancestor of his, a police detective. And they bring Whistler back to a room where they plan to send him back in time, and he meets with Aunt Rachel from Family Matters, who is the engineer sending him back. On the table right there in the room is the body of Whistler, which was retrieved from the desert, and the council is keeping for the trial. Jack says nuts to that and uses his laser gun to singe the body of Whistler, pissing off the council, but there's nothing they can really do at this point. So Aunt Rachel does her best Q impression and gives him a few gadgets, including a watch that will stop time and a gun that has the antidote to bring Jack and Whistler back to the future. And they set him down on a table, and Aunt Rachel injects him in the neck with a needle, and then he flashes back to 1985, and he's now in an apartment looking at himself in the bathroom mirror as a young Helen Hunt gets dressed in the other room.
Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
You go, because I think you might say the same thing I'm going to say.
Well, the first thing we see with Helen Hunt is she's getting dressed for work.
Yeah.
And she's putting on the red jacket and everything. And I was like, God, what is she going to be, like Mrs. Claus or something like that? And sure enough, yeah, it's Christmas time.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, I was like, what a terrible jacket. She looks like Santa Claus.
This is why we do a podcast together, guys. Because I think we all 3 had the same thought. It's
simpatico here.
Because in my head, a little bit different than you, I thought, is this a Christmas movie?
I had that written down. And Trancers is a Christmas movie.
Most certainly is.
But my one thing about the whole way, and it's the same problem I have with Assassin's Creed in the way they do this, is how much trust is there that they won't just, like as he does to Whistler's body, they don't just kill your body in the future.
Yeah.
You know?
There's no one stopping them.
Yeah. Like it's the amount of trust. At least in Assassin's Creed, again, there's probably 20 years of refinement on the idea. before the game was released, you at least, they give you a reason, like sort of, hey, we've been working together for years, or, or we have similar goals in mind, like killing you would make me fail at what I want to do, This just kind of seems like he's working for the man, so they like, what attachment do they have to, Tim Thomerson's character? Like,
I mean, I think it's a bigger leap of faith that they would kill him as soon as they send him back. No, there's no reason to think that the council's going to kill him. He hasn't done anything.
No. I'm just saying the thought of, I'm not saying it's specific him having the worry. It's just my idea with this type of thing is sort of like, that's a lot of trust, to just, in this type of sci-fi.
I think it would be more interesting if, because we've kind of established that Whistler is a cult leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it might be interesting to see maybe at one point in the movie that the cult members are trying to break in to get Jack's body, maybe. So there is like a ticking clock element to it.
Sure.
But yeah, it's really, he's just chilling there. He's hanging. There's really no danger for him in this movie. Outside of being in 1985, in the future, he's not in any danger.
Yeah, and even if they he singes Whistler while he's in the past, and there is no ramifications for Whistler.
No, yeah, he's perfectly. He's just now stuck in that police chief's body.
Yeah,
and I don't even think he knows that his body. Does he know his body was destroyed in the future?
No. I don't think he doesn't until the end when Jack outright tells him.
Okay.
And Jack does the standard thing of not really understanding the situation he was just dropped into, even though the council could have at least briefed him. But he winds up being dropped into this guy's body the night after a one-night stand with Helen Hunt, who was trying to get ready for work, which the guy agreed to take her to work. Like, just why not a dossier? Like, this is who you're going back as. This is the situation we're dropping you in, because I'm assuming they have control over when they're sending him. It would be a terrible technology of time travel if they have no control over where they drop him, because they just drop him after he kills the council people.
Yeah. Is it one of those? I'm trying to think. There was a time travel movie where they basically said, we can't pinpoint where we're dropping you. We can only give you a rough outline of it, like a window. Like, you're being sent from either this day or this day kind of thing. I can't remember exactly what movie it was, but I guess maybe that's what they were going for here. Is like, we don't have an exact time frame, but we know you're being sent to 1985.
Yeah, I don't know. They could just been like, oh, heads up, you just banged this girl the night before.
Nice. High five each other.
And trying to screw it up because your existence depends on you guys having sex again.
Yeah. Just make sure you. When do they do it? It's after the club they go to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just make sure you go to the club where they're playing really shitty Christmas music.
These guys all look like Trancers.
Yeah, we'll get to that scene, but that scene made me laugh because it was basically like they didn't have enough money to shoot in a club or make the club look like a club, really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason why you can make it a punk club, because you can just throw it into any studio and you don't have to do much to dress it up, because, the idea of punk shows would be like basements of buildings and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Little house shows.
Yeah.
So after slicking back his hair real nice, he drives Helen Hunt erratically to work at the mall as one of Santa's helpers. Tries to talk to her, but she has to work. But as she's taking pictures of the kids with Santa Claus, the Santa Claus gets up and starts groaning like a trancer. So Santa attacks Jack, and they fight right there in the mall until Jack shoots Santa Claus in front of shoppers and their children.
I was just going to say, I know we're skipping over the scene a little bit, folks, but just imagine, this all takes place in front of children.
Yep. One of the kids even remarks, he shot Santa.
He then takes Lena out of the mall forcefully with a gun and gets her to the car and drives off.
The good old taken by force and fall in love with later.
Mm-hmm.
Trope of
my life. After they leave, the cop shows up, and the detective is Whistler. On the drive, Jack explains to Lena that he's from the future, and he needs to save some people from Whistler. And she takes it relatively well. She doesn't ask a whole lot of questions. Yeah. So he asks her to help her find the address of the ancestor that he's looking for.
Yeah, I think it's mostly because of what happens in the next scene, why she's just sort of kind of doing the bide the time until he leaves, you know, sort of situation.
Meanwhile, the cops find the picture of the same ancestor. The address winds up being a tanning salon where he meets with the ancestor. Jack tries to tell him that someone is going to try to kill him, but then the guy turns into a trancer, locks Jack in a tanning bed, then blows his own brains out with Jack's gun. Meanwhile, what was that?
What was the point of locking him up?
To kill him?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Barry's going to leave him in the tanning bed for a while, would eventually probably kill him.
Okay. Yeah, because he winds up killing himself anyway. So I was like, yeah, I guess trapping him doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But yeah, I mean, if they were just going to kill him, then sure.
Yeah. I mean, the Trancers are trying to kill him regardless, so.
Yeah, that's true.
That's another way to kill him. Because, yeah, your insides will just boil eventually. So you're only supposed to be in tanning beds for like 15 minutes tops.
The guy who runs the tanning salon tells Jack that he needs to work on his tan. I don't think that's true. I think Jack is
the same thing. I was thinking the same thing.
I forget exactly.
I must look like shit.
Yeah, well, us pale folk, we need to spend time in that. Jack did not. He's got a pretty nice tan.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Lena was waiting outside, thought about leaving Jack behind, but comes back in time to watch the trancer singe out of existence and help Jack out of the tanning booth. They go to leave, but outside is Whistler with a few cops. Whistler orders his cops to shoot them, but Jack uses his special watch, which slows down time, allowing him to pick up Lena and put her in the car and drive away as Whistler and his men stand around.
My favorite thing about the stopwatch, other than the plot hole where he had enough time to kill Whistler, but he uses the watch twice, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And both times, as he's running to save Lena, he stares down Whistler.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he runs by and he gives him this like, should I get you or should I save Lena? Just this weird look. Like, you could have killed him twice very easily.
Yeah.
But his mission is not to kill him; it's bring him back to trial.
Okay, but he can't. He already blew his body away.
I don't know what his plan is, or what if he even knows what can happen if he sends him back to a future that he doesn't exist.
Okay, I was thinking, and I had it written down. It would have been more interesting if before Thelma Hopkins sends Tim Thomerson's character back, his consciousness back. She's giving him the watch and the gun. If she gives him the watch and says, "This watch will slow down time. You only get one charge out of it, so use it wisely." And right, so then he's like, "Oh, well, perfect. I could use it to slow down time, catch Whistler, come back." But winds up using it on Lena instead, so that it's more impactful.
Sure. So they go to Chinatown to hide out at Lena's friend's apartment while she's out of town, and it gives Jack a chance to get acquainted with Peter Gunn and Chinese food. After they eat, Lena takes Jack to a punk club, where she runs into an ex-boyfriend that Jack punches out because he called him an old man, Tim Thomerson being my age, if not younger, at the time of filming. He then punches a couple of more punks out that may or may not have been Trancers before they leave, but I don't think he was really caring at that point. They go back to the apartment. Lena gives Jack a gift of a toy robot, and then they start making out. There's a knock on the door, and it's McNulty in the body of a child, his ancestor, telling Jack that he needs to come back to the future because the councilwoman wants to talk to him.
I probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's just the concept of he had to come back, which we discussed he probably didn't have to do. Mm-hmm. But just the idea that what the character looks like in the future, and then he has to come back as this little her and Tim Thomerson arguing.
Mm-hmm.
I would have the same reaction as Helen Hunt.
It's a funny scene because the McNulty ancestor, she talks about how she had to sneak past her parents and all that.
Yeah.
And she's still in her pajamas.
Yeah.
But that's a clever scene. I give the movie credit for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Councilperson who was related to the guy from the tanning salon evaporated. Jack picks up this little girl and puts her outside. He goes back to putting the moves on 20-something Helen Hunt. As he approaches insertion, McNulty, still as the little girl, sneaks into the apartment and shoots Jack with the antidote that brings him back to the future. So Jack is pissed that McNulty wouldn't let him fuck, but McNulty tells him that he is off the case because he couldn't protect the one ancestor. Jack appeals to the remaining councilwoman, saying Lena is the key to him finding her ancestor. So she gives him one last chance, and they send him back to 1985, post-coitus, much to Jack's dismay. So as Lena sleeps, Jack puts on the television and sees the news interview of Whistler. Talks about crimes related to Skid Row. So Jack takes this as a sign that Whistler knows that the ancestor is somewhere in Skid Row. So he wakes up Lena to go on a field trip to Skid Row, and she hotwires 2 motorcycles outside of a biker bar in order to help them get there. They come across 3 drunk old men. They gave them some money to see if they know where Hap Ashby is, which is the name of the ancestor. And the old men tell them, check the old paper mill. Go to the paper mill, and Jack goes in alone, thinking that Whistler knows about the paper mill already. While skulking around, Jack avoids a couple of cops before he comes across a makeshift room with a bed that looks to be maybe Ashby's. He hears the cops approach, so he pretends to be a homeless person, and they move along, but one of the cops wisens up and goes back to check again, but Jack is gone. Cop catches Jack trying to escape and holds Jack at gunpoint, making him toss his gun and special watch. Jack tries to talk some sense into him, but he's already become a trancer. But he's about to shoot Jack. Lena comes up behind him and shoots him instead. Lena gives him back his special watch, then kisses Jack. But as they're walking, they fall through the floor and right into a group of homeless people playing baseball. One of them happens to be Hap Ashby.
That's a great baseball player name, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They did a good job with that name.
Yeah. As Jack tries to tell him that there are people after him, Whistler has his men point guns at them from the hole, and the hole they fell through. Whistler demands they give up Ashby, and the other homeless guys give him up immediately. And Whistler's men start shooting at him immediately. Everyone scatters, and Jack puts Hap on the back of his motorcycle, and they run for it. Jack and Lena split up, and they say to meet back up at the apartment.
Now, I don't know if this was meant to happen or if it was just an error in this take from them, but I think Tim Thomerson and Ashby start running in the wrong direction because the extras run like toward camera when, they're supposed to run, away from camera on the shot. Mm-hmm. It just looked weird that like Helen Hunt had to stop and turn around and be like looking at them like, this, guys, this way.
Yeah. A chase ensues. Lena winds up driving through an old man's house. Jack drives down some steps, and they wind up eventually meeting up at the apartment. Lena tends to a graze from a bullet in the bathroom, and Jack tells her that he loves her. Then they try to give Ashby a bath and tell him that he needs to dry out and get a job so he can have a kid so that his descendant will be born. Jack then calls Whistler and tells him that he wants to make a deal with him. Says that Whistler can have Ashby in the future as long as he leaves Lena alone. Lena gets upset with him, but he tells her that it's all a trick. So they set it up where Lena waits on the roof during the meeting, but Whistler sniffs it out and comes up behind her and puts a gun to her head. Down below, Ashby was pretending to be Jack, but Whistler starts shooting at him and he has to take cover in a dumpster. Jack comes up behind Whistler, miscounts the shots he's already taken, and then has to hear Whistler tell him that Lena is, for all intents and purposes, his grandma, whom he has the hots for.
Yeah, another sort of weird trope of this of time travel movies at this time is having the hots for your ancestor, or your ancestor having hots for you.
So Robert Zemeckis saw this and was like, "All right, I'm gonna do this, but I'm not gonna take it that far."
Yeah, we're gonna do it in the opposite direction, the way it probably would normally happen.
I'm not gonna have my main character want to fuck his mother.
So Whistler, trying to get rid of Jack, tosses Lena off the roof, but Jack uses his special watch to slow time. He uses his belt to zip line down to the street and catch Lena before she hits the ground. Then Ashby bullseyes Whistler from across the street with trash until he falls off the roof and into a fountain. Jack grabs Whistler and goes to use the antidotes to send them both back to the future, but it turns out one of them broke, so he can only send one of them back. So he stabs Whistler with the injection. He winds up leaving his ancestor's body to go who knows where. And Lena and Jack walk away, ready to start their life together, as McNulty watches on from his ancestor child. That is the end of Trancers. Pretty solid B sci-fi movie.
And perfect runtime.
Yeah. It's like 85 minutes.
Yeah. With my one caveat, because I think it would solve a lot of the questions we had, if there was like another 5 to 10 minutes explaining some of the things. But, it doesn't need it. Us not understanding trancers or, any of these processes that we just trust that, yes, what they're saying is true. We don't need it explained to us. That's just the way it is. Works perfectly fine in this movie.
Yeah. I didn't need any explanation.
Yeah. This is one movie where it goes an hour and a half wouldn't harm it too much, but I think it's nice breezy and, never outside of the Tubi commercials, never had a chance to, look at my phone or do anything like that, which is always a plus.
Oh, I watched it on my computer and I didn't get a single commercial. It cut the commercial and then come right back. It was great.
I had all the commercials.
All right. That is the plot for Trancers, and we got a third segment, and we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to some ads, so pay those bills, and we will be right back. And welcome back, and now it's time to talk our third segment. So this movie, Trancers, is a sci-fi movie. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a tier list, and I found one on Tier Maker. That's the best sci-fi movies of all time. So we got a lot of movies here. I don't think we're going to go through all of them, but we'll probably pick our favorite ones and try and, discuss and where we think that they should fall on it. So that's what we're going to do. We're not going to have any video aspect of it, but we will call out what our movies are and what the tiers are. All right. What do we want to start with? I have an idea. I want to start with Back to the Future because I think this is immediately an S tier.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Would anybody disagree? Okay.
No, not at all.
I think the reason it belongs there is that's still the gold standard for time travel movies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone's come close to really replicating that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's literally one that's referenced in a recent time travel movie.
Yeah.
Like that is literally how that character explains to other characters that she's in a time travel situation. Sure. She's like, have you seen Back to the Future?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's an easy one to start off with.
Yeah, that's let me go with an interesting one that I'm sure we've all seen. Where would Starship Troopers fall here?
I'm not the biggest Starship Troopers fan.
That's what I mean.
I would put that at B, I would say.
Yeah, I was leaning low A, but I could see B.
Yeah. I think it's a misunderstood movie because it is satire and nobody got it when it was first originally made.
Yes.
But I don't find myself watching Starship Troopers on the reg.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen it maybe once or twice.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it when I was younger, when I didn't understand it, and also being a teenage boy, it was like boobies are in this movie. So I've seen it a lot more frequently than probably the movie requires, but I think it just has a couple quotes that come out of it that keep it above a C or D tier. The whole fight the war, become a citizen thing and all that stuff. So I think I can solidly be a B.
Okay. Mark said boobies like he's Joe Coy.
Yeah, boobies.
Did you write that joke, Mark, or
maybe? No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Immediately, the first thing that sticks out to me, The Thing. I will take no less than an S.
S. Okay.
I will fight. I will fight anybody. I will die on that hill. It's one of the best sci-fi movies of all time.
Yeah. You know what? I throw it in horror, but I get your point.
So I had. I'm not going to name names here, but I had a discussion with someone at work, and we recommended this movie to them, and they didn't like it because they were saying, "Oh, you said it was a horror movie. It's sci-fi." Like, no, there's a scene where a man's chest rips open and then rips off another man's arms with teeth that are in his chest. That is very much body horror.
Yeah.
But it's also an alien that right from outer space. So there's a sci-fi horror element. It doesn't have to just be one or the other.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that Star Wars on there on the first level on the right? Is that a sequel or prequel? Next to Predator.
Sequel.
That is The Last Jedi.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't picking that one.
I want to go to Interstellar.
Okay.
Ooh, this is interesting. I'm curious.
Because the internet fucking loves this movie.
And I don't think they realize why.
They suck the dick of all Christopher Nolan movies.
Yes.
Besides the best, except for the best one, which is Dunkirk.
Of course. 10 out of 10.
But people love this fucking movie. I think it's on like the top 250 on IMDb. And I thought it was fine.
Yeah,
I would put it as a B.
Yeah, I think it falls into for a totally different reason. I think it falls into that Starship Troopers thing where it may be a little misunderstood for what it's going for, but I think it's because people think it makes them way smart if they like this movie.
Right. Yeah. It's because the science is there, right? And everyone loves to jaw jack about that. Like, oh, it's real science. It's real science. Like, sure, but it's not a very interesting movie, in my opinion.
There are some interesting ideas in the movie, but it is 2 hours and 45 minutes that I've mostly forgotten.
Yeah. We rewatched that. Jen and I rewatched that early last year, and I completely forgot that like Timothée Chalamet was in it. Casey Affleck is in that movie. Topher Grace is in it. I completely forgot. Pretty much everyone was in that.
Yeah. You guys are convincing me that it's more of a C tier.
We're talking you down.
But yeah, I'd put it at B. I don't get the hype. I'm actually curious of right now where it lands on the IMDb top 250, because I think it's like within the top 100.
I would be surprised.
Yeah, people love sucking the Nolan dick, man.
That is true. They are. I think it's the prestige of Nolan, right? Like, oh, it's like a Martin Scorsese thing. Oh, if they directed it, it must be great.
Yeah.
And it's usually great or very good, but not always. It's okay to have different opinions, folks.
Yep.
You don't have to love everything these guys do. Even The Dark Knight being number 3 is a little high.
Absolutely, it is.
On the 250. Yes. You put it over Godfather 2?
Interstellar is 21. Are you?
No.
Watch more movies, ladies and gentlemen. Watch more fucking movies.
Again, it's a good movie.
What did I see? What did I fucking see? I saw 81. Joker. Avengers Endgame 80. Good fucking lord.
It's funny. It's great, and I will tell you, coming from someone who is a big fan of comic book movies, it's too high. Too high.
I think in the top 250 movies, there should be like 5 comic book movies.
If that.
Yeah.
If that. Like, I would put Iron Man in there.
In the 200s.
In the 200s. Yeah. I'd put Guardians of the Galaxy in there.
Yeah. This I think IMDb should just take this top 250 movies list off there because it's awful.
I mean, listen, I like.
I mean, that number 9 is way too high.
I like seeing 2 Lord of the Rings movies in the top 10.
Nonsense, absolute nonsense.
that I will fight.
3 in the top 15.
Yeah, it's the perfect trilogy. There is not a better trilogy out there.
3 in the top 15 movies of all time. 100 years of cinema. 150 years of cinema. I can think of at least 20 movies that pushes all 3 out of the top 20.
It's the most highly decorated trilogy in the history of cinema.
I could think of 20 one-off movies that are better than that.
And this is the beauty of cinema, right? We have someone who is not a fan and someone who is. But we can agree on Interstellar not deserving to be 21 at least.
That's right. All right, let's get back to our list. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so I think Ex Machina is an A. I don't think it's so much an S.
Like that.
But I think it's a high A, but I can't put it with the other 2 movies we already put in S.
Yeah,
there.
I'd agree.
Yeah,
I'd agree. I don't think it's a
S tier.
Yeah, I think S tier's got to be a absolute classic, no questions asked, right? And Ex Machina is a very good movie.
Yeah. It's a lot better than what we got in B. So
yeah,
I don't think enough time has passed for Ex Machina to be a die in the wool classic yet. I'd say maybe another 10 years, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
You might get there.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go with one that might upset people because apparently everyone loves this fucking movie. Avatar. I'm putting Avatar at D.
I was thinking the same thing, Dan.
It's one of the highest grossing movies that no one talks about.
Yep.
Yeah.
I never hear anyone talk about Avatar.
Can't argue.
And the only reason I have heard people talking about it is for some odd reason. You know, the youngest niece absolutely loves Avatar.
Maybe that's what
weird.
it is. We're not talking to the right people.
Yeah.
It's all younger kids.
Yeah.
No,
I
we're
literally
not talking to the right people.
yeah. We're not talking movies to 12-year-olds, Dan.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Like I literally bought her the video game and it was the most excited she was about anything she got. And you know, I just don't get it. I went and saw the second one because I'm an easy pushover with them, and all she has to do is sort of say it, do her demanding, "Hey, Uncle Mark, we're going to go see this movie," as a statement and not a question.
Did you break her heart when you gave her the gift and she was excited? Like, I don't get it. I don't. I guess you can like it, but it's not that good.
Yeah, no, it was just like a lot of things. I'm like, sure, I'll go to. Like it's like how I feel like I would be if I ever became a parent. Is just sort of, hey, you like it? Sure, I'll go with you for it.
Sure,
you know, I'll do this, but I don't get it. And that's very much what I felt sitting through those 2.5 hours.
Fucking
because I saw the second one with her. So I had no clue going into most of the beginning of the movie. Thankfully, I'm smart enough and have seen enough movies that I piece things together pretty quickly.
Patting yourself on the back there.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm a genius. I'm messing with
it. No, I'm agreeing with you, even with the messing with it. It's sort of like, it's the context clues of being able to read context clues of things. But yeah, I didn't get it at all.
Okay. All right. I guess it's my turn. Prometheus.
C.
I would say C or D.
You know, I would put it in the D list.
Okay.
I think the audience was given something, like sold a bill of goods in that movie. It's like, oh, it's an Alien prequel, Alien. Xenomorph doesn't show up until the very, very end. And I think that threw a lot of people off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of a stroke job, I think. So like, oh, look what I can do. Like, it was Ridley Scott, look what I can do. Like, yeah, but it kind of meanders. Not a big fan of it.
Okay. I guess it's up to me. C or D, where am I putting it? Is it better than Avatar? I don't think it is. Yeah, I think I gotta go D. I don't know if it's better than Avatar. I think Avatar does things certain things exceptionally well.
Yeah.
And I can't say the same thing about Prometheus.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think the next one is should we have the discussion of which is higher, or are they on both the same tier, T1 or T2?
I don't think they're on the same tier.
They're not.
I don't think so either.
I think one is clearly the better movie, in my opinion. I'm not going to sway you.
Okay. Yeah, I think Heart would flip them, but I think T1 could be an A, possibly close to an S, and T2 would fall at whatever tier below that.
I'm of the opposite opinion.
I would say T2 is the greatest action movie of all time.
Probably the best sequel. One of the best sequels of all time.
I would put T2 as an S and Terminator as an A.
Okay.
But I can understand. They're both excellent movies. So
yeah.
There's no real right or wrong answer, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's sort of the thing where I agree. If you're giving me a list, they're probably both in a top 10, top 15 for action movies for me. Okay. So it's not like I would be fine with them being in the same tier, but I don't know if you can do that.
What's stopping you?
Yeah, I mean, I would put them both S, to be honest, but I was just thinking that maybe we needed to make a choice there. But if we don't, we can drop them both in S if you guys are good with that.
I think it's more interesting to make the choice.
Okay.
Me personally, I'm putting T2 at S.
Yeah, that's fine. 2-1 on that. So.
Yep. And then Terminator at A. Dan, you agree with that?
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's so easy to go. I'm looking through the list. It's so easy to go for the S tiers, but I'm pretty sure I saw Moon down there, Ant.
Yep.
S.
I'm putting that. I would say A, because it's not a certified classic yet.
Yeah.
But Sam Rockwell is fucking great.
I love Moon, and I am tempted to agree with Mark with an S, but I think there are other movies here that we haven't even touched on that would push this to an A.
Yeah. I think, again, if we were going off of the aforementioned criteria of it's a stone cold classic. I don't think it's quite there, unfortunately. Although I love it, it is still an excellent movie.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get these Star Wars movies out of the way.
Yeah.
I think that'll be an interesting thing. So we got Return of the Jedi, this first one here. Where are we putting Jedi?
So that's the third movie, right? Or sixth movie.
Sixth movie.
I don't like Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
I think that like a C or a B.
Yeah, that's probably my least favorite of obviously of that trilogy. So yeah, I think C tier for that as well.
All right. I would say B, but if you guys are both saying C,
yeah,
go with the C. All right. Next one is The Last Jedi.
I feel like I'm pretty harsh on Star Wars movies. I would again C or D for that.
Yeah.
So you think Last Jedi is worse than Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, because the thing with Return of the Jedi is it has it's coming off of a strong sequel in Empire. The Last Jedi is not. It doesn't have that weight to it. You know, it's not following something epic. So I think it kind of it tried different things, which I give it credit for, but it was a fucking mess.
Sure. Mark, where are you putting it?
Yeah, I'm on the same thing with the tier, except I flipped my opinion from Dan's in terms of which would be ranked higher on a list, but they are definitely both on the same level.
So you think C tier for
C tier? Yeah.
Last Jedi.
Yeah,
it's fine.
All right. Star Wars, the original.
Again, if we're going off of the whole classic thing, you got to put it in an S. No.
Yeah, I think S.
Yeah.
So there's a popular opinion that Empire Strikes Back is the better movie, which I can't necessarily argue. But which one would I rather watch? I'd rather watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
And New Hope is, I mean, it changed filmmaking at that time. So yeah, it's.
But can you argue Empire Strikes Back does not also go in S tier?
Yes.
Right?
Are you saying you can argue that it does or doesn't?
I asked, can you argue that it can't, like, it doesn't belong in S tier?
Yeah,
I feel like both of these probably have to go S tier.
Yeah, I think the thing with Star Wars movies is those two are S tier, and then everything else is sort of B, C, D.
Yeah,
you know, depending on what it is. I don't think, to be honest, I don't think any of them fall in A at all.
Sure.
I think you got two classics, and then everything else is middling to bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we got one last one here, The Force Awakens.
That's the B.
Yeah. I was going to say B would be fine. I'd be okay
Feels
with
good.
that.
Feels good for a B. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Filled that up.
Yeah. I like this whole let's do two movies thing here. I think, let's go have we each seen the Blade Runners, or do we not want to touch that because of the other one?
I have seen the Blade Runner.
Okay.
Is 2049 on this list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that next to Guardians and then the original's down by The Martian?
Okay. I abstain from 2049 because I haven't seen it, but I have seen Blade Runner.
Okay. Let's at least put Blade Runner on there. I think that needs to be on the list, and then let me get another choice here then.
Okay.
So I think Blade Runner is an A. I really like Blade Runner, but I might be at the minority opinion here.
Look, you are not in the minority opinion overall.
Okay.
But I don't get Blade Runner. I would go as low as C tier.
Wow, really? Yeah, I'm not going lower than B. I would say either A or B.
Yeah, we can drop it in B to sort of get the consensus opinion.
That is probably the average. If I'm saying C,
I actually think Blade Runner 2049 is better. I think it looks better.
Yeah.
I think it's acted better. I would probably put that at an A.
It's a similar thing with why I like certain eras of horror movies. I think the cyberpunk sort of thing of the 70s or like the early 80s to late 80s, just because they had no fucking idea what the future was going to end up being, it just feels better to me, which is why I like a lot of the stuff in the cyberpunk video game, because that stuff was written in the 80s.
Sure.
That's the only reason I would do Blade Runner over the other Blade Runner, but we don't have to put the other one up there since, but I guess where I saw another, are both Aliens on here?
I see Aliens, and I don't know if that's Alien at the bottom. next to Star Trek and Metropolis.
Oh, I guess that is Alien.
Yeah. I think
because I'm an Aliens over Alien fan, and I don't know where you guys stand with that.
Reverse it for me.
Yeah, I'm more. We it's funny. We actually just watched Alien and Aliens, and I found myself kind of going in and out of Alien.
Oh, yeah.
I love Alien.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
another movie that kind of transcended.
Yes. Sorry, Dan.
No, it's okay. Alien is a movie that kind of transcended its genre. Introduced us to Ripley, one of the best heroines out there in cinema. Alien to me is S, but if you wanted to put it in A, I would understand, but I think it's an S tier.
I would agree with the S tier for Alien.
And we go Aliens is an A.
I would put it at an A.
Okay. Yeah.
I would have been what we did. I would have done with the Star Wars thing. With those two movies, I'm just an Aliens over Alien fan. I just thought we had to have that discussion, but I can live with, that as an A there. But yeah, it's more same thing with the New Hope and, Empire. But yeah, I think that, I'm glad that it doesn't look like we have the one trilogy on here that I only see one of them, which is good. Yeah, you're on it now. Yeah, I guess it's your turn. I don't know if it's Dan or Ant.
Yeah, we can just kind of free ball it here if you want.
Yeah, let's see what's not on there that we would want to do. Do we want to put the Matrix?
Let's talk Matrix.
Sure.
I don't love the Matrix.
No, me neither. When I first saw it, I loved it, but the more I watched it, the more I kind of fell off of it.
Yeah.
So, but I will acknowledge what it did at the time in cinema, so I would acknowledge, but I can't put it any higher than a B.
I was thinking B.
Yeah, I was going to say most people would think S for this immediately when we said it, but yeah, I don't think. I think it's high B, edging on A, but I think it's just the only reason it gets close to the A is for me is if you just sort of kind of understand the slight allegory that I didn't even realize when I first saw it. Because I didn't know much about, the Wachowski sisters at the time. And now watching it through a new lens, understanding that bumps it up a little bit for me. But B is definitely fine with that. Nice. Yeah, I'm trying to find a D that's in here.
Oh, I got a D for you.
Yeah.
I got a D right here for you. No, AI, artificial intelligence. That's a big
that was the first one I was looking at.
That movie is a mess. And, obviously, what's his name passed away before finishing the movie, and Spielberg stepped in to, take over. Who initially directed it?
Kubrick.
Yeah, and so there was obviously a big gap there, but the movie is it's kind of jumbled. It's pointless, really.
Yeah. Mark, do you have any argument against putting it at D? Okay.
No. I looked at that, and in my head, I'm like, am I the one? Like, is there some thing I'm missing with this? And then once Dan just picked it out immediately, I was like, okay, no.
Yeah, that stood out like a sore thumb, that movie, amongst all the others.
Yeah. Is that... I'm just trying, because I really wish they would have picked photos with the names on it. That, in that first column, those three movies in the first column, like down.
This is Arrival.
Is that Armageddon?
This is Sunshine.
Oh, Sunshine. That was what I was trying to figure. And that's Fifth Element, right? Below it.
Yep.
I'm an A for Fifth Element. I don't know if you guys want to put it up there. But I really love Fifth Element. And that might just be a favorite over is actually good sort of thing.
I also really like it. I would say either B or A.
I will disagree with both of you, but if you guys, wherever you guys want to put it, because I'm lower.
If you're much lower on it, then just drop it in B.
Okay, because I would say C.
Okay, so yeah, we'll split the difference.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this might be a, I don't know if it's controversial thing like that, but Predator. I think a lot of people would think Predator's an S tier. I wouldn't put it S. I'd say A.
Yeah. I think it's a step below Alien.
Yeah, me too. It's a lot of fun, but it doesn't reach that height.
Mm-hmm.
Is RoboCop and Jurassic Park both A's or S's? I
Oh,
mean,
those are S's.
yeah,
RoboCop usually is an S. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Just drop them in there so they can get off the list here.
Yeah.
Yep.
The-
How many S's do we think we have left?
I think for me, I think there's 2 that I would put up there.
I would say 2
one.
as well.
I'm seeing 1, and to me that's Space Odyssey.
Yeah, 2001 is 100%.
Yeah,
one of the ones for me.
My second one was E.T.
Yeah.
Oh,
we're good. We're on the same wavelength. Those are the 2 I saw.
Yeah.
And the only one that's floating for me is I Love Children of Men. That would be an A for me, but I don't know where you guys stand.
I like that movie. I put that as an A.
Yeah, I can't argue. I might put it as a B just because I haven't really revisited that often, but I can't argue without dropping it from an A. Yeah. E.T.'s got to be an S because it is quintessential Spielberg.
Yes,
one of, if not the greatest mainstream director ever, and that is him at his best.
Yeah,
I can't,
Yeah,
that movie. I've seen it so many times, and it never really struck that chord with me. But I can't argue really because most people would put it as an S tier, so I can't really argue against it.
Yeah.
Is that movie next to Sunshine? Is that Transformers?
No, I think that's
Edge of Tomorrow. Yep,
that's a B.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it, to be honest.
I like that movie. It's fun, but it's
fun. I saw it once and I was like, cool.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it though.
They do a good job.
Yeah.
All right, let's go for a couple that I think we've all seen. That the audience would also. Inception.
Inception, I'd say B.
I would say B as well.
Yeah.
I think it's higher than Inception in Interstellar.
Yeah.
I think it's a better movie, but it's still.
Yeah, you can even put it above Starship Troopers if you're trying to order these.
I'm just those 2 specifically.
And that's another movie where, again, like people would say they knew what was going on just to sound smart.
Yeah.
But I don't think they really understand what was going on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Guardians A. That's an A movie.
Yeah, that was the next one I was going to pick and say the same thing.
A lot of fun. Probably one of the best Marvel movies.
It's probably still my favorite, so I really can't argue with that. I'm tempted to say the best of Marvel doesn't go higher than a B on this list, but I can't really argue with Guardians being an A.
I don't think there's any Marvel S tier movies.
Absolutely not. I don't. No. In terms of size, based on this list, absolutely not.
Yeah. Or on any list. Or I mean, if you're going comic book movies, then sure. Yeah. But
ones. Let's see. Minority Report. I only seen it once, and it was okay. Yeah. I don't know where you guys.
Yeah.
I think that's a movie people would know that was on here.
I think that's a Spielberg movie as well, right?
It was a Spielberg movie.
Yeah.
C sounds fine for it.
It's tough to put a Spielberg movie at C, but
yeah.
It's not something that I would revisit.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many more are we thinking? Do we want to take all the ones that we think people know and leave some of the older ones there?
Let's do one more each, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Ant, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I want to talk about Gravity.
Okay.
Because it's an Oscar-nominated movie. Maybe even won? I don't even remember. Best Director, I think it won. But
is that Villeneuve?
No, I think it's Alfonso Cuarón, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I can't remember.
I think it's a C.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
okay with that.
I think it's nothing more than the full runtime of something bad happening, Sandra Bullock solving it, and then something bad happening immediately after that. And then just loud and kind of obnoxious.
I agree with most of it except for the obnoxious part. I didn't get the obnoxious feel to it, but if you did, I completely understand. But it was repetitive for sure.
Yeah. So for me, my last one is I would like to put Serenity at B, but I don't know how you guys feel about it if you've even seen it.
I've never seen it.
I've seen it once, and I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, I'm a person that's watched, the full Firefly series, so the movie's actually better than most of the episodes of Firefly, to be completely honest.
Well, they got a movie budget.
Yeah, movie budget. Yeah. Just in terms of story too. I just wanted to make sure that was a personal favorite of mine that I was looking at this list that I wanted to make sure I got on there.
Yeah, sure, because you're a Joss Whedon apologist. I know.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that, but that's fine, Ant.
The truth comes out.
There's so many things that I look back on that have come out recently, and I'm like, fuck, that's on the internet. That praise.
Listen, it's not like you knew back then.
Yeah. I have a whole article about how great Mark Swan is as a TV creator, and then it turns out he's a fucking creep.
Listen,
well, Mark, you could always delete these too.
Yeah.
No, I know.
I stand by mine.
Trust me. No, trust me. Nobody's reading that old blog, so he can sit there. But yeah,
I'm stuck between three movies here, and so I'm stuck between talking about Arrival, Planet of the Apes, and Under the Skin.
All right, let's do all three. I haven't seen Under the Skin.
Are you sure? I can just do the one. I don't want to bogart this.
Well, here's the thing. I haven't seen Under the Skin. Arrival is the last movie I fell asleep on, and Planet of the Apes is awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say Arrival C, Planet of the Apes A.
So I'm the opposite. I don't like Planet of the Apes. I liked Arrival.
I liked Arrival until I fell asleep on it with the last 45 minutes into it.
I thought it was an interesting movie. I know a lot of people were saying it was super boring. But yeah, I remember seeing the theaters. And I was like, really good. It was Oscar nominated.
I want to reiterate me falling asleep on Arrival had nothing to do with whether it's quality.
Okay, it's just you just happened to fall asleep.
I just happened to fall asleep.
Okay. All right. So to me, I would put Arrival at a B, but that's just me.
Okay.
Yeah, we can drop it there. Yeah,
So, and it sounds like you're saying Planet of the Apes is possible S?
No, not an S,
okay.
But A. I think you could argue an A.
Sure. And I'm gonna blow your minds here. I think Under the Skin is an A.
Well, we'll trust you.
I love that movie.
I haven't seen it, but I know Scarlett Johansson shows her tits in it. So how can I argue lower than an A?
Her boobies.
Her boobies. Yeah. So the reason I put that at an A is I knew nothing about it going in, and I was floored by just the premise of it. It's essentially Scarlett Johansson is an alien who is sent to Earth to kind of abduct people and fuel their ship. I think it's very weird. It's a very weird movie.
It's like an abstract movie, right?
Yeah, very abstract, and it's kind of her figuring out the human race as an alien and just fish out of water, but very atmospheric, very abstract. So this is my film snob coming out. Like, oh, if you don't understand Under the Skin, that's on you.
All right, we got a pretty good list here. We got a lot of S. They're very top heavy, but obviously this is like the best sci-fi movies of all time is kind of this list.
Yeah,
so
and if that Solaris that's down there was the George Clooney Solaris, that would be a D.
I've seen the original.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'm very proud of the movies that we have in our D tier.
Yeah.
Avatar, Prometheus, and AI.
Yeah. We got some good ones that we didn't discuss, but this is fun. And we should do more of these down the road.
Yeah, maybe once a month if we pick a genre movie.
Yeah.
We'll just figure it out at the time.
Yep. All right, and that's our episode. Check us out next week. We'll have another episode coming your way. And check us out on all our socials at TickTamPod on Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, as well as Threads. And then on TikTok at They Call This a Movie. Hit us up at Gmail at ticktampod@gmail.com. Suggest some movies to us. And do all that kind of stuff. Once again, I forgot to shout out Vince in the beginning. Vince, shout out again. We will get to your email or your message on X at some point.
Should we just make him the Matt Damon of the podcast?
He is the Matt Damon of this podcast now.
We looked at the message. We will, like you said, get to it. But thank you very much for the kind words.
Yeah.
We apologize to Vince. We ran out of time.
We'll have you on next week.
Yeah. But check us out. Give us a 5-star review on your podcatcher of choice. That'd be amazing. And all that fun stuff. And we're going to get out of here. The director of Trancers was Charles Band. So, for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony DeVecchio telling Charles Band, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Call This a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Call This a Movie.